Hello there, friends, and people who love craft beer, wine, and spirits in the state of Maine, and all the great businesses that surround those folks. You have tuned in to another virtual tour presented by the Maine Brew Bus. Today we have episode 23, which is a look inside one of the most legendary places that you'll find in the Maine craft beer scene. We're going to visit with Mike Dickson of the Great Lost Bear. While Mike is connecting with us, I'll say a few words about Car Hop. You've heard me talk about Car Hop, and I've mentioned how they grow every single time I look. Well, they're at it again. They've added a bunch of new places that you can get alcohol delivered to your home from them. And all you have to do is go to carhopme.com, take a look at either the stores, the producers, or you can just use the list, the search function, to figure out what you want. You want to find stout for tonight, you can put in stout, and you can get a list of the different stouts that might be available. Use promo code BrewBus when ordering through Car Hop, and you'll save 50% off your delivery fee. And it's a great way to get local spirits, wine, and beer delivered to your home at a time that makes sense for you by locally owned and operated company. They're doing a very good job of actually employing some folks that are not currently working in the hospitality industry. So you're supporting a lot of different aspects when you use Car Hop. And most importantly, you're staying safe at home and your alcohol is coming to you. So check them out at carhopme.com and use promo code BrewBus. Mike Dickson and the Great Lost Bear. Man, there's so much to say about this place. Legendary location in Portland. I started going there right after they opened. I was a kid who lived in the area, and it was the new restaurant in town. And Mike's connecting with us now, so stand by for Mike Dickson. Well.
How
are you?
I am well. How are you? That's a very
good
photo of me.
That's a very... Have I mentioned that you're the tall, thin man?
Yeah, but my head looks like it's... How do I fix that? Do I go upside down?
No, there's some sort of lens, I think, that's doing that. You might be in like fishbowl lens or some sort of wide angle lens.
Oh, listen.
While he's working on that, if you're just listening and not watching, Mike's appeared on the screen. He's very narrow and very tall, and he looks really fun. But this is not what he normally looks like. So yeah, that's fun. I've never seen that before. It's like he's in that thing in LL Bean where he's underneath the bubble. He's just such a... that was an interesting look. I thought maybe he was in a porthole in his boat or something like that, but nevertheless, he'll figure that out. He's got some good tech support there, and he'll join us here again. See if this works. It's gonna be worth it. I'll tell you that. Can you hear me any better now? Hey,
yes,
hey, it's Mike Dickson. Amazing. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm good. I think maybe the dust fumes got to you or something. I don't know.
They did. I mean, I had quite a few people down there to help me sand today, but it was just me while they drank beer in the back of the pickup trucks.
I saw the picture and that made me laugh.
yeah. It was. I got something done. It was nice to be outside. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
Down by Willie Beach that I'm walking and riding right now. It's nice.
Was it pretty busy down there?
Yeah, there's a lot of people pulling the shrink wrap off, including us, and a lot of people on the green belt walking with their dogs. So I think after all the inclement weather we've had, it's been nice just to have something to go out to and have the temperature nice.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been pretty chilly. So.
We went the entire month of April without hitting 60 degrees, and that hasn't happened in over 70 years of records. So
is that right? Wow.
Yeah.
Then
so
we had a couple, so you knew that was too good to be true that we're going to get hit hard with that.
It's absolutely true. Yeah. Absolutely true. Well, Mike, thank you so much for taking some time on a Saturday to chat with us.
Thank you.
First of all, I don't know if you have anything. Oh, hello. Who's the chocolate
dog?
Hi, Brown Dog. Why do you call it Brown? Never mind.
That's Brown Dog, yeah. Original name was Mumford back in the day, but he's been Brown Dog for nearly 8 years now. So, yeah.
Sorry, Mumford and Sons, but So, do you have anything in your glass that you're enjoying right now?
About to pour a little Allagash White.
Perfect.
In the
Allagash
can.
Allagash White, the very first place it was poured in 1995 was at the Great Lost Bear.
In July, yeah, I believe it was July. Coming right up, well, and I saw that post yesterday in regard to their first brewing process, I believe it was.
Oh yeah, his first brew day was.
We actually have a plaque above the stool that Rob sat at the Great Lost Bear, and where he had that first pint.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I picked a beer company that means a lot to you. So I've picked from Sierra Nevada. I've picked Torpedo IPA.
God bless.
Yeah, and Sierra Nevada, you're an alum of the Sierra Nevada Beer Camp program.
I am. I am Beer Camp, I believe 47. And God, I don't know what they're up to right now, but there was I can't think of them all right now. But was it the Rattle and Hum in New York City?
In New York, yep.
Flying Saucer, I believe, Houston, and 2 or 3 others. And we did something kind of unique, which was a black IPA. And this was 10 years ago. And everybody wanted to go crazy with the hops. We decided to use all New Zealand hops, which was interesting because we thought we might get a little more aromatic quality out of the fact that we were doing a black IPA.
Yeah.
Also, the starting gravities were ridiculous. Everybody wanted to be over the top. And I was the old guy in the group, and I was like, let's just tone it down a little bit, but that didn't happen. But in the end, we ended up coming up with a pretty decent black IPA, and we also have the claim of fame to be the only beer camp that had its label name refused by the ATF at that point in time.
Really?
Yeah, we named it after the Indian tribes of New Zealand, which it's not ringing a bell right now. Can't think of it. And the ATF said that label sounded too indigenous to New Zealand, which was like the silliest thing. But they had plenty of time on their hands to like really filter out what names could go and which ones wouldn't.
I mean, that reminds me of when Rising Tide came out with Cutter. It was actually called Calcutta Cutter, and they had an objection that people might get confused that it was made in India. Calcutta.
Exactly. So similar to that. I remember Casco Bay had one, and it sounded too close to a kid's cereal. I mean,
Well, these days it would be called Trickster for kids, and it'd be fine. But
it would be, yeah. Exactly. It seems like sometimes I'm amazed by what names they get away with these days. It's just been. But that was a long time ago. But it was a great
long time ago.
And, Riddy McDuff's actually, with the permission of Sierra Nevada, did a New England style of that black IPA about 8 years ago, which was neat too. So we used the Ringwood strain, which was interesting. Gave it a little more bitter profile. It was fun.
So we've got a bunch of people that have joined here, and I want to say hi to some of them. So Brewmaster Michael is here from Brewery Extrava. Let's see, let's try to do this. Normally I've got somebody helping me, Mike, but I'm on my own today. So I've seen Mary Chick, my sister, my brother-in-law, Dave Chick as well. Maine Central, Simon E. has joined. Maine Woods and Waters, and a bunch of other folks. So they're here to meet, to hear from Mike Dickson of the Great Lost Bear. So now we've got our beers. We've got that out of the way. Let's start at the very beginning. Tell us a little bit about you personally and how you got connected with the Great Lost Bear.
I came in back in the late 80s, so quite some time. And my wife Bird came in shortly thereafter, and we've been there ever since. And we're in the front of the house, we're in the back of the house, we're in the parking lot sweeping, we're taking out the trash. I mean, jack of all trades, as well
you
as
name it.
Kegs. And we've been a great family. Dave and Wesley, primary owners, have been fantastic. And one of the interesting things about the Great Lost Bear is the amount of low turnover. We don't have any. We have people that, including myself, my wife, and my daughter, both daughters actually, keeping the legacy alive, have been there for years. And now we have their kids' kids. It's been amazing.
I was going to ask you, do you have a sense of how many staff you've had over the years? It's got to be thousands of different people.
That's a great question, because we should look into that. I know that we've done collages of all the people that have worked and come and gone, and there certainly has been hundreds, maybe 1,000.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would imagine, and for people not familiar with the Great Lost Bear, there's over 40 years of history here. And the collages he's speaking about in the hallway by the restrooms shows some of the 1980s and early 90s staff pictures. And many of those people are still on staff, and many of them have gone on to do other things. So it's a really remarkable business there. So what were you hired for? Were you hired to be a bartender or something else?
I was hired as a bartender. I worked for Sugarloaf Corporation. I worked at the Bag Restaurant back in the day on Free Street, as well as
Absolutely
Mountain. And it's vague now. I can hardly remember what was going on last weekend, let alone then. But, there was a waitress there. There was a good friend of mine that recommended me, and I jumped on board, and the rest is history. So
my sister Patty's giving a thumbs up. She used to work right across Free Street from the Bag, and that was a frequent spot for her to hang out back in the day. So
it was a really neat place.
Yeah. So based on that experience, you got hired at the Great Lost Bear, and was it Grizzly Bear at that point, or had it changed?
No, it already changed. Changed. I believe that happened within the first 3 or 4 years. There was a pizza chain on the West Coast that did a cease and desist, and they came up with a contest, and I don't know how. I think they decided on that name, I believe, but that's been at least. Yeah, that's been a long time.
37 years or so.
Yeah, as far as any generation before and after, that's all they know. That's all I know.
So when you started tending bar there, craft beer was not a big focus. It was just starting to be a little burgeoning, a little action was happening. What type of drinks were you slinging at the bar, or what type of beers were available?
Well, a lot of bottled beer. We had a 5-tap lineup. It had Genesee. It had Michelob Dark on there. And I think we rolled in Geary's. That was one of the first ones. Actually was the first one.
Yeah.
It was under the chalkboard. There were 5. And then and we also had a place up in Falmouth called the Varsity Grill. That was a sports bar that we were sort of venturing with. And then we saw this happen. We saw Fred roll in with a keg of Shipyard, and then we decided, hey, I think this is going to be more than just a few domestic beers that we've all been so used to. And all of a sudden, there's Geary's, there's Shipyard, Casco Bay, and a few that unfortunately have come and gone. But that seems to be the nature of the business. And then, we went from the 5 to 20, and then we went from 20 to 36 to 50, and now 80.
Yeah, which is crazy. And 80, generally focusing on a lot of Maine, definitely a lot of New England, some heavy hitters from around the country, occasionally some international favorites as well. It's a volume place. It's a large. How many seats are in there? 200 or so.
240, not including the patio. So we can pack them in.
So it's a large format. They go through a lot of beer quickly, and you don't have a lot of storage there for kegs. I've seen the back of the coolers there. It's it's clean. But the way the lines and the kegs are all stacked around, it's kind of maddening for sure.
It really is. That was one thing that we've been doing. We've been going in and doing a lot of cleaning, and just did a big overhaul. Not a big overhaul, the bar, sanding, and putting down some poly, and cleaning up the tap box. Took all the tap lines and Sankeys and faucets, took it all apart, and schematically put it all back together. As you saw, as we added on, there was no sort of numerical order to things. I mean, 1 would be in walk-in 1, number 2 would be in walk-in 3, and so now we have. It's been this way for about a year, but because of the closing, we decided to take everything apart again, clean it, and we have a clean in place Micromatic system that Nappy Distributors was kind enough to let us use that we've had for some time, and that's what we do on a regular basis. But because of the situation that's going on right now, we decided to undo everything, remove all the beer from all the lines, and just wait for that day when we can open up. And we certainly won't have 80. We'll start off with just the front board. We still haven't wrapped our heads around what we're going to do with that right now. But
and I do want to explore that a little bit, but just kind of reset here. We're talking with Mike Dickson of the Great Lost Bear. This is a virtual tour from the Maine Brew Bus. My name is Don Littlefield, and we thank a lot of people who have joined us. Maine Brewing Supply, your neighbor next door on Forest Avenue. Brianna Jara from Little Tap House. Hello to you.
Hi, Brianna.
Darshan Pingle. Hashtag Leatherworks, Heinz Brothers out of Georgia, Hana Tamaki from Mommy, Marg.o, Wicked JW8, and anybody who has a question, a comment, a fan note, a love note for the food or the drink at the Great Lost Bear, feel free to put that down in the comments, and we'll have an opportunity to ask Mike some questions here at the end. So let's set the stage here. It's early March. Great Lost Bear is looking towards opening the patio, looking towards St. Patrick's Day, and the world starts to fall apart. So tell me about some of those decisions and the thought process that were happening at that time.
It seems like such a long time ago already, and it has been. I mean, for us, it's been 6 weeks and 3 days. So the sudden shock of the fact that we have to close, I don't think it really... It didn't really sink in until maybe a day or two afterwards, and then we said, okay, there's so much what we need to do in order to make sure that we can open up. And I was optimistic at that point in time. I thought in 2 weeks we'd be open.
Sure.
Clearly, it's not the case. And so immediately we started, emptying out. The kitchen manager, Chris, and Carrie were emptying out the walk-ins. We were donating food to the Preble food bank. They came by and picked up where they could. We froze a lot of things that could be freezed. A lot of prepared food we just gave to the staff. And also just trying to manage our inventory of beer and what's going clearly out of code by now. So we decided that let's take on some projects that we've been talking about, but need more than a day or two to do. I mean, like we grout in the kitchen floor, the bar, putting down coats of poly, the beer lines and what have you. Now I'm working on the slate around the restaurant, just filling up some little divots here and there. And again, we have the time to do it. Whereas before, especially grouting the kitchen tile, there's no time for that.
Yeah, you would have been shut down for 5 days or so to do that.
Exactly, or 2 or 3.
Great Lost Bear is a 7-day-a-week place, and it's tough. I've been a restaurant manager. It's tough enough to close for a planned single day, like a holiday. Okay,
exactly.
We got to stop prepping. We got to not do the pars that we normally do. I can't imagine knowing that you're going to close and you're going to do it indefinitely, and now having to manage that 6 weeks later or so.
It's crazy. I'm actually just looking at my crazy sunburn I have right now on my.
It looks pretty. I thought it was a filter, like you had before, the Thin Man filter. This is the sunny day filter.
Could be that too.
So Mike, the Great Lost Bear has a large staff, and it is a family, as we've talked about. So how have they been doing through all this?
They're doing quite well. I stay in touch with them, and it's in a group sort of context. I've been dropping beer off to a lot of waitstaff, bartenders, as much as I can, just to say hey and hello from a distance.
Thinking of you.
And we've also had so many people, even though they're not working and we cannot pay them, that have offered to help out, just to do something, and which has been so nice and generous of all of them. However, we're in sort of a controlled bubble of people that are doing the work right now. Bird, myself, Dave, Pam, our dining room manager, Andy, and Pam's husband, George, has helped with some of the contractual work as far as cutting boards and nailing things, whatever. And so in order for everyone to keep their distance to be safe, we figured this is the best way to go until things change. But no, I think that everybody, they all stay in touch. I talk to Lily all the time, and they're always constantly doing the Zoom thing, what have you. Yeah. But it's so really hard. It's so hard to sort of still every day. It's a different. You wake up with a different thought. Like, okay, what's going to happen today? Well, I mean, what's the new guideline or who can open up when or who cannot open. And then, of course, after yesterday's little situation up at Sunday River, which got national attention, I mean, don't have an opinion on that, right or left, but it's So overall, I think everybody is in good spirits. It's also so many unanswered questions. I mean, this is such a bizarre thing to happen. You think about tragedies in the past where, be it economic, be it a war, people always went to the pubs and the bars, and this one is so ideally so different because that's what we cannot do. We have to socially distance ourselves. So unlike anything else, bizarre.
Yeah, I that first part of March I was in Ireland, and that was a surreal place to be in. As they were trying to put in physical distancing a few days away from St. Patrick's Day, and ultimately they ended up closing everything, and they're all still closed. So, so I have a feeling I understand the answer, but why did the Great Lost Bear not look to do any sort of curbside to go or any sort of thing like that?
Well, I think the beginning part of this is that we were doing a lot of cleaning. So we were cleaning the walk-ins in the back, and we have things moved out. And we wanted to sort of sit back, not so much watch the show, but see how it was working for other people. And because we didn't have a lot of inventory on hand, we committed to these projects really that are sort of the biggest reason why we're not doing that right now.
Yeah.
But we are thinking about it. And like I had mentioned earlier, when we go in there every other day doing projects, the phone just rings and rings and rings.
Yeah.
So we're still trying to wrap our head around how to do that. Oh my goodness, I just saw a plane land. That's the first time in about 4 days. Wow.
But you've been living in the basement, I guess, huh?
So, and as we move forward too, I think we're thinking the same way as June 1st, that we probably won't open at that point in time too, only to see how this thing is really going to sort of pan out for everybody else.
Yeah, that's a really good thought, and I've explored that with a few people, which is to say, okay, so you're allowed to go, but what's your hierarchy? What's your thought process in the places that you feel safe in going and that you want to go to? And I'm kind of with you. Like I might just take a little bit of a wait and see what happens. It's not like you're gonna. Yeah, it's not like you'd open the door and the place will be full again. There's a lot of apprehension, and it has nothing to do with your company, with cleanliness. It's the world status as it is now.
Agreed, and I think that's really the core of everybody has that same question without an answer. It's like, how are you going to approach this? How are people going to come back out again and feel safe or not safe? And how do we distance everybody? Hopefully we can be open sooner than later, but it's realistically, I mean, it certainly doesn't seem like it's going to happen this month.
That's for sure. That's for sure. We don't even want to try it.
Yeah, and another part of the takeout part, which we really do want to, we're definitely entertaining the idea, but it takes a little bit more to keep the lights on at the Bear too. So
that makes sense. It's so large.
It is, and how do we bring people in that we haven't been in touch with in 6 weeks? Our kitchen managers, whatever, or do we just take it upon ourselves, or do we get overwhelmed? I mean, I've actually figured out a traffic pattern that we could use in the parking lot to use an exit door and a guardrail. So, I mean, it could happen. But what kind of hours are we going to have? Again,
it's all still coming. Questions. So the important parts are here because a couple of people have asked me, they're like, well, I'm just afraid because I haven't heard anything from the Great Lost Bear. And that's mostly, if you're just watching Facebook, they posted March 18th, closed, see you soon. But on other forms of social media, on Instagram, you're seeing this progress. You're seeing the work that's being done, the tap line cleaning, some of the stuff behind the scenes. So they are planning to come back. Anybody who's super nervous about that, they're planning to come back. And,
we are,
and that's great.
We've already sort of verbally worked out a floor plan for the spacing and time allowed, and because we have some good acreage there, we can do that. And another issue that they're talking about is now, are we a bar, are we a pub, are we both, are we eclectic, which we consider ourselves to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think that's going to be a concern, but it seems like right now that is a big question. Restaurants can open, but bars cannot. So we have to sort of, comply with the guidelines and just keep moving forward. And when they say green light, we'll go.
There you go. A few folks want to say hi to you. Rob Griffin says hello to Mike.
Hey, Rob.
Hey,
Speaking
Rob.
Rob Griffin actually was the one that took that recipe from Gritty's, the black IPA that we did. Yeah.
Awesome. Lyford Hydro Seating, PDL 255, Kevin Watson, Danielle Alexis G, Jay Flaherty 12, Haley Blakey have all joined the broadcast. Oh, there's a whole other page here. She Travels for Beer, Emily Farrell, Donnie D207, Crafts with KY, Dr. Dr. G. St. John, there we go, it's not Get, have all joined the broadcast to listen to Mike Dickson from the Great Lost Bear. Again, if you have any questions, comments, love notes, fan mail, put that right in the comments in the bottom of the screen. We've got just a few minutes left here with Mike before we let him get back to his duties. So, so my question is this. How does the beer buying process work at the Great Lost Bear? Because you have, some people would think you have the opportunity to have so much beer you could buy any beer you want. But the reality is sometimes you don't have enough lines to do all of the beer buying that you want to do. So how does that process work?
It is amazing. And whoever thought that we'd have 80 taps, let alone half that number. And to me, I feel like a commodities trader when I wake up on Monday morning and I got salespeople talking to me, hey, I got this, I got that. And of course, we support the local brand 110%, and then beyond in New England. And of course, then there's some solid ones like Sierra Nevada and Harpoon Brewing Company has been with us since day one. And kudos to them, and good quality product, and everybody else. But it is difficult, and I thought that with 80 taps we would never have a problem.
Right.
But yeah, there's so many products out there. So there's so many different things that we have to look at. We have to look at the fact that every Thursday we do a showcase, and we're committing to 5 or 6 lines. So we have to make sure that we're not. One of my pet peeves is untapping a keg, putting another keg on in order to get behind the showcase. I want things to be. I want that line to be empty so I can clean it, get it ready for the showcase, what have you. And sometimes how it just happens. And of course, we have a daily pint special, which just flies. With prices the way they are, when you put something at $3.99, it's amazing. So
it's a mover.
It's a mover, but making sure you stay in order, then not have a lot on the other end. It's a constant moving. It's crazy. It's
massive juggling, right? So like one example is during Portland Beer Week. So the Great Lost Bear tends to have a lot of focus events where it might be, let's say, all Maine IPAs, and they could easily do it with 10 lines. They could do it with 20 lines, 30, but sometimes it's up to 40 lines or more of just Maine IPAs. And just one IPA from one company, right? So although you could have a number of IPAs from a brewery, you try to spread the work, right? Spread the information out. So like that sort of juggling is just amazing to me, especially during Portland Beer Week.
It is really crazy. And, the local distributors, Nappy, National, Central, Craft, they've all been great because we have their portfolio in front of us. But I'm also looking at the independent ones, Fogtown and Sheepscott. We want them to be in that, so we have to sort of connect with them directly. And in most cases, it's usually pretty successful. But it's great to see them all coming down, meeting the local brewers, because it's such a hyper-local market to begin with. I mean, if you're not in Portland, you're in Saco. It's kind of, whoever thought that would ever happen?
That's pretty crazy. Yeah. Just for the record, every week in my personal calendar, I see the Thursday night the microbrew showcase, and I say, oh, well, it's not happening this week. And it's Google, right? So you go to delete it. It says, "Do you want to delete this from now and forevermore?" I'm like, "No, next week. I want it to come back. I want it to remind me that that's a thing that I really look forward to." And I think a lot of people look forward to their time at the Bear. It's a meeting spot. It's work time. It's also play time. It's Thursday nights. It's weekends. It's a place that means a lot to everybody. So, what are you most looking forward to when you are open and able to see some of your regulars come back?
Well, first of all, I think normality, which we know there is no new norm, right? Well, there is a new norm, but we just don't know what that's going to be. So it's going to be sort of a trickle effect, I think, we're looking at. Our capacity certainly won't be 100%. Our workforce certainly won't be 100%. And we just sort of move forward on that concept and think, okay, let's try 25 taps. Let's put all the heavy hitters on our menu back on and just go from there. So it's almost like it's like a new startup. I think everyone's gonna be the same way. And again, though, I think because we have space, I think we have a little more logistical options as far as how and what we should do.
Yep. So, like an example for that, if you've been to the Bear, that one of those back rooms, or maybe both. Maybe some extra tables and chairs put there temporarily. It's closed off to the public. They're removing tables and chairs away from the public dining room just to meet the occupancy requirements. The patio is probably not going to have all of the picnic tables that you're used to. It's probably going to have some limited space as well. And as you're saying, like you've got to. There's a certain aspect of resuming your business where you have to make sure what you're putting on for sale is going to sell. Because there's no sales going on now except for gift cards and merchandise. So you've got to make sure what you put on is going to move because you can't have it linger. We got to start generating some revenue too.
And I think that's what we've seen on Instagram and what have you. The cheesesteaks, the wings, the burgers. So we'll focus on that. That's the eclectic pub fare, if you may. And then also decide what beers to put on the front. And we have an idea already. And we're also considering, for those that we can't get on the draft lines, going with some cans from them. And I think
more than you would have normally, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that some people may feel more comfortable having a can of beer in front of them than having a beer poured and then put in front of them. Although, we'll make sure that, as always, that everything is as clean as can possibly be. But the mindset of how people are going to react to, hey, everything's free and wide open, we just don't know.
Yeah. But, and again, I'm a frequent visitor to the Bear, so some things that you've taken for granted, like all your condiments are right in front of you at the bar, and the menus are, if they're not on the bar, they're close by. Like all of those things have to be rethought.
Good point.
Like
ketchup bottles,
Right. How can they just be out there without being sanitized between each use? And
that's
for
a good
even
question.
well, you don't have to answer it.
A garden tray,
Yeah.
People walk by grabbing maraschino cherries on their way out,
Oh no, the ball may not be able to touch the laser ball again. I don't know.
That was the first thing that went out. That went out like 24 hours before we even closed. That went out.
It's not far though. It's under safekeeping. Right?
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's actually still running in the back office.
That's perfect. I do want to talk about that back office because that's a little known. There's a lot of surprises back there. So there's two things I particularly want to point out. One is what is basically a museum of old fittings, connections, and tap handles. So let's talk about that. You basically have collected everything you guys have ever used for 40 years, back when it used to be not universal, which is amazing.
It's insane. I never forget the day we had new carpet put in there, and both the guys who were putting it in were home brewers, and they literally dropped to their knees. They just thought they hit the Mecca right there. And we've actually given away a lot of things. We gave a lot to Rob and Galen, and they gave them right to the loyal customers. Sure. And we still have so many. And we use a lot for parks, and the ferals that come off the bottom of the taps, and the distributors and salesmen come by always like, hey, Mike, you got a funky bow tap handle.
Right.
We're the go-to,
You got it. You need a strange fitting for some weird European beer that's coming in? It's probably there.
Well, that's another good one, too. Back in the day when it wasn't just such a universal Sankey, American Sankey. You had your Euro Sankey, you had your Hoff Stevens, you had your Slide, you had your Cornelius. I mean, it was crazy, and thank goodness most of it's it is the American Sankey, but there's still the pin and euros too. So we have a box of those sitting around.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Value as a metal than they do as an actual purpose.
The other thing I wanted to talk about, which I think is something that people should understand, is Wesley's role in this, and that the art, any of the art that you've ever seen, whether it dates back to the old print ads in Casco Bay Weekly or the menu designs, the current logos on the website, that's all hand done, and it's done by one person.
Yes, Wesley. She is the art behind everything, even the etchings in the glass that you see. All the new menus, the chalkboard in the front for the weekly showcase, that is all her. She's amazing. And then that also in the back office is a museum of all her really amazing. And we had the pleasure of traveling with them in Aruba, and she spends a lot of time on the patio creating new images for the menus and what have you. It's fun to watch. It's fun to see. Just amazing.
So it's supposed to be vacation for her, and she's creating new imagery.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And again, to put this in perspective, she is not a digital artist. She's a physical artist. So these are hand painted. These are hand done. Mm-hmm. It's so every image that you've ever seen is coming from her skill and her talent, which is it's not often promoted, and I'm a big fan of it. And
I'm glad you mentioned her name, because truly, everything she does is really something, and we have the pleasure of getting to watch it while we travel together too. So I don't know,
which is great.
She has her place in the office and her big bulletin board of all of our work. I think you've seen
like concepts and stuff, and things she could plug in, and
Yeah, and then all her save too. I mean, I stay away from. I'm afraid if I go in that corner and move one thing, I'll be penalized. So I respect her area.
So shout out to Dave and Wesley. A lot of people know Dave, but Wesley's much more behind the scenes. Very rarely will you see her in the restaurant, but she's is really a force behind what the Great Lost Bear has meant for over 40 years, which is great.
Absolutely.
So just wrapping up here with Mike Dickson, we want to say hi to some other people who have joined us. There's another big list again here, Mike. So Beer Selfie, Kelsey E. Reed, Dr. G. St. John says Thursdays at the Bear are the best. Carl's Cooler. My family all says hello to each other. Garden of Barrel. I was just saying a bunch of people have continued to join the broadcast here, so they're all fans, and they're sending hearts and waves to you, Mike, and to the Great Lost Bear. So I'll give you the final minute here, and I'll give you the final minute here in a second to kind of to kind of pitch the Great Lost Bear. Not that any of us need encouragement, but just to kind of maybe explain from your heart what it means to you. But before I do, you've been watching a virtual tour presented by the Maine Brew Bus, and our guest today is Mike Dickson from the Great Lost Bear, the legendary Great Lost Bear, the mysterious Woodford's Corner. If you've enjoyed this conversation with Mike, you can support the Maine Brew Bus on our website, themainbrewbus.com. There's a section for virtual tours. There's a place where you can put a tip in the tip bucket, and a little goes a long way. It's never expected, always appreciated. Helps keep us going, because the only tours that we have are on the internet right now, and that's going to continue. That's going to continue fairly indefinitely. Normally, Mike, we'd be running probably this time of year close to 20 tours a week. And we'd be heading towards 30 in about a month. So that's not going to happen. So we are doing these in an effort to not only promote our partners and the great companies that are supporting our partners as well, but also to keep our guests connected, because our guests come from all around the world. So that being said, if you enjoy this, just check out the Great Lost. Also do that. Check out the mainbrewbus.com. To support the Great Lost Bear, it's greatlostbear.com. Getting a little ahead of myself. And you can support them directly right now. Gift cards, probably merchandise as well, you could also acquire. But look for their news coming up on their social media accounts for maybe some opportunities where we have to connect with them one way or the other. And as I said last couple of days, for everybody, just be patient, as all of these businesses are going to open up. They're going to do it in a safe manner. We all want to do this safely so that we don't all suddenly have to close down in August and September and October and Christmas and whatever. So just be patient with everybody. Car Hop I already mentioned. I have no producer to thank, which I typically forget anyway, because it's just me. And so just the final thoughts. Garden of Barrel says Silver Fox. That's for you. Long live the laser ball, if you didn't hear that. My sister Patty says no, that the laser ball got moved. That was for all of our safety and its own safekeeping. And so this has been great. So Mike, final minute to you. What does the Great Lost Bear mean to you, and why should we all support you when you're back open again?
Well, thank you all. It is, again, the Great Lost Bear is one big family, and it's a well-oiled machine, and it's been a pleasure, and still is a pleasure working with them. I think we'll get through this. I think that we're going to be leaner, we'll be stronger, we'll be better, and I think we're all going to be a heck of a lot nicer. And nicer means people are going to want to go out and engage and just enjoy each other's company again. And we just have to get through this maddening time. And a few more nice days like this really helps a lot, too.
It definitely
really
will.
Maybe we'll do one from the marina next time. We'll make it a little more versatile.
I told you could have been on the boat. You wanted to be outside. You didn't do that either.
Like I said, it was a one-man show today. I wasn't getting much help at all. I probably succumbed to not standing and just drinking beer. That's what happened today.
Fair enough. Well, I do appreciate this time with you. It's been fantastic. And thanks to everybody who's watched. Best to Bird, best to Lily, your daughters, best to everybody, to Dave and Wesley. And we can't wait to see everybody at the Great Lost Bear at a time that makes sense for everything.
Thank you so much, Tom, for your time.
Thanks, Mike. We'll see you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.